Hello and welcome to My Spectrum Life. My name is Jessica. I'm an autism mom, and this is actually kind of a unique podcast in that my usual co-host, Kelsey, is not with me tonight. She is my co-host that's on with me regularly. Tonight, it may kind of look like you're looking at a me and then a younger version of me. That's because this is my daughter, Nikki.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Um, and she is a neurotypical sibling. Now, one of the things I know that we may have defined before was neurotypical, meaning normal or not having a diagnosis of a disability that usually is seated within the brain. Neuro, referring to neuron or neurological, which refers to our brain. And then neuroatypical, which is your brother.
Yeah.
And that is the neuroatypical. Atypical means that they have autism or some other difference. We refer to a lot, we use the term neurotypical and neuroatypical a lot when we're talking to our doctors and stuff like that. But she's my neurotypical child. And we just wanted to talk about how some of the things that and how they affect you as the sister. So we'll start with do you remember anything in particular that changed when Curtis was diagnosed? You were in kindergarten, you were 5, and he was 7. Do you remember anything changing that much when we got the diagnosis?
Well, something I know that changed is I ended up sitting at a lot of long appointments.
Yes, that is one thing that we had to combat, and that was difficult to understand at first, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I was really little.
You were little and you were bored.
Very bored.
Right. And I know that's one thing that we deal with. We talk to Curtis a lot when you're going to, say, dance or something like that. When you used to go to dance, we might have to, Curtis and I might have to sit for a long time, but you didn't have to sit. You were in there dancing and he would get so upset and I would say, well, remember, Nikki's had to sit there for your appointments. So we got to kind of give and take.
Yeah, and Curtis had something to watch.
That's true. It's been an interesting trying to remember what to take it at doctor's appointments to keep both you and him busy, depending on who has what appointment.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, what's been one of what's been a more positive side, like one of the more an exciting or fun activity that you've gotten to do because your brother's autistic?
Well, okay, so there was this one class and camp in South Carolina. It was a art camp for the autistic kids and the siblings, and it was separate classes. That was really cool because it helped you. And there's this thing in art class where they gave you a topic, and they asked you to create something based on that topic. Like, I don't have it with me now, but I had made a little clay dog, and it had like these balls around it. I painted them blue, yellow, and red, autism colors.
Right, for the puzzle piece logo. Now, what do you remember what the topic was that day?
I think it was the emotions. Like, red was sometimes you can get upset and stuff. Blue, sad, and yellow, excited.
Right. Very cool.
And another up of it was, well, because he had ABA, I could meet new people that could help Curtis.
Right. That was the sibling art class that we got to participate in, and the camp they had a class for both the child with autism and the sibling. And that was actually done through our what was called Low Country Autism Foundation, which was the autism foundation that helped gave you aid in and was funded by certain grants and such there in South Carolina where we used to live. I know that there are various places and things that you can do like that, and that's actually one of the really good things to look for is for something. Now, the art was also a therapy because
Yeah,
you
it was.
talked about the emotions and stuff that you had with, or things that came across or about because of having to deal with the sibling that was autistic. Because I'm sure that it's, I mean, one of the things I know that is really hard as a mom is trying to figure out what to do during, say, a meltdown when I have to completely focus on Curtis, but you may have something going on and I can't really do much about it.
Yeah.
Have you come to a place where you understand that now?
Yeah, because he can be going off about something,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important. Um, Mostly about whatever I'm asking. Like most of the time, it's asking, "Can I play a video game? Can I watch TV?"
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right. Well, and we've taught you that it's important to make sure that when there is a meltdown, that you understand that it's not that we have to focus on Curtis because he could hurt himself.
Yeah.
So, now what about? Let's see. Have we gotten to go to any fun activities because, or had any privileges that were fun because Curtis was
Oh,
autistic?
yes. There was this autism walk.
Right.
It had all these like jumping castles and those like little crash course things that they
Mm-hmm.
have that are like jumping castles.
Right.
That was really fun. We ran through it like 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm. And that at that it was all sensory friendly.
Yep.
So it was geared towards Curtis so he wouldn't have a meltdown, which made it fun, right?
Yeah. Very.
What about, okay, so I know there's Miss Kelsey. She says, I'm so proud of you, Niki. She's away, but she's able to tag in there. Thank you, Kelsey, for being there. Um, Now, ABA therapy, that was something that we actually like kind of snuck you in to help us with. Did you know you were helping Curtis with therapy when you would help during sessions?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Yeah. One of the things that you can do with ABA therapy is if your child is learning to take turns,
Yep.
perfect time to learn how to take turns.
And spell. When
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, you
was
guys have
younger.
had little spelling bee
Yeah.
competitions.
We used to put shaving cream on a pan,
Uh huh.
and
We've
with
done
our
that before.
finger we would write like the word,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how you grade it. But when you're done with that word, you just
Wipe
swipe
it off.
it.
You used to do that with
With
whiteboards too,
Yep.
right? Yeah, and then you played games together, right?
Yes.
And that was something that you guys were having fun doing, but you were also learning how to take turns, right?
Yep. Both
Well,
of us.
yeah, both of you. That's for sure. Sometimes it's actually really good to use ABA as a time to help them both learn how to take turns. Because if I don't know, as an autism parent, I have found that there are times that there are certain things that I can say a bajillion times to my kids. But if they're with Miss Kelsey during therapy and she tells them, guess what? They magically do it. I don't know about you, but I think it's kind of this rule with parents and their kids. You can tell them a million times, but if somebody else tells them, it kind of sometimes goes over a little bit better. And
Yeah.
how you're almost perfect with other people, but not so much with mommy. Goofy. Um, I know another thing. Let me ask you about this. What about the times when it's hard because all of a sudden Curtis he's okay to be touched and wants to cuddle with mommy? I know that can be frustrating.
Because sometimes when I'm cold
Mm-hmm.
and
Like when we're
stuff.
watching TV or watching a movie and stuff, usually Nikki's the one that's right up next to me with the blanket and we're cuddled up watching a movie. But occasionally, Curtis will worm his way in there, won't he?
Yeah.
And I know that can be kind of a downer.
Sometimes when I can't get out, he
Mm-hmm.
just kicks me off.
Yes, that's true. But one of the things that you've also learned too, that we kind of learn by trial and error, but we've also kind of talked about is that with the sensory, sometimes a little tap feels like you're punching Curtis. Sometimes he doesn't want you to touch him at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's okay giving you a hug. Um,
Wait, not sometimes. Never.
oh, sorry. Yeah, that's a really fun time when I tell you guys that you have to hug it out and make up after a
Oh
fight.
my goodness. Mom used to, when we had a fight, Mom used to bring out like one of their sweatshirts um and used to put it over the both of us, and we called it the get along shirt.
Yes, you guys had to wear that. Okay, so my mom says to tell about all the things. Now, what all do you do for Curtis? What are some of the things you do for Curtis?
um I do oils for him.
Mm-hmm.
um
We use a lot of essential oils here. And at night, what do you help get ready for him?
Water
For the
diffuser.
There you go, the diffuser at night. Um, sometimes, I mean, right now you've been a big help because it's easier to have you run and get things for me because of, I'm still recovering from my hip replacement surgery. But sometimes I make Curtis run up there and get stuff. Sometimes you guys both have to look for things, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, have you read any good books that talk about autism that have helped you?
There was one
Mm-hmm.
I got from the library. It was
Right.
called, I think, The Invisible Cord.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one.
Yeah, that I made us get. It's called. We've talked about it before. It's called Rules by Cynthia Lord. That I want you to read. I want Curtis to read as well, but it kind of gives another perspective. Because isn't it one of the things from art camp? Wasn't it kind of nice to know that there were other people, other siblings that had other kids
Problems
that
with
had
their-
yeah that had problems with their autistic sibling?
Yeah. The struggle is real.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Miss Meredith. She says, "Awesome job, Nikki."
Thank you.
Now, what about? I was just remembering something. Oh, okay. So one of the things that's difficult at times can be the fact that as parents, as autism parents, we have to do a lot of advocating for our autistic child. And sometimes, I've always tried to make sure that when my kids were in brick and mortar school,
Yep.
I always tried to make sure that I was at their field trips, both side. I mean, it was imperative that I be there for Curtis, but I also tried to be there on yours. No, we're not going to go into those stories about snakes. That's a no go. Um, so, but one of the things that we faced in brick and mortar school, which helped us make our decision as a family, is to go for what was that? I lost. Yeah, my friend Jennifer just said hi, sweets. We do online school now, don't we?
Yes. Yes, we do.
So the reason that I went, Curtis did online school for first grade.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I have to do while he was taking tests?
You had to get me out of the room because I was answering the questions for him.
Yeah,
because
that was,
I used to sit in the room and just listen.
You absorbed a lot, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to send her out of the room so she didn't she would answer Curtis's questions for him because I wound up reading the questions off the computer for him because he would be clicker happy. Um, but then we went back to brick and mortar school, and his last year in brick and mortar school, what happened to Curtis a lot?
He got bullied a lot because he was different.
And what happened most afternoons?
He would come home and have an absolute meltdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he would. One of the things that I think a lot of people have seen or with their children is that at a brick and mortar school, your child will kind of clamp down and they'll hold all the emotions in that they possibly can. And then as soon as they get in the car with you or get in the house, they just
Boom.
boom. Yes, boom. That's a good word for it is boom because they've been holding in and trying to keep themselves under control as much as possible because all these things are coming at them and have bothered them. And so they'll explode. And we would have afternoons where Curtis would just be upstairs screaming and screaming. And it was so hard. That was tough to do your homework in, wasn't it?
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, it was easy homework, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. But how did it feel when you heard that Curtis was being bullied? What'd you want to do?
I wanted to walk right in his class and teach them a lesson.
Okay, what now? How would you teach them a lesson? It wouldn't be like go and punch people, would it?
No.
No,
I
that
would
doesn't help.
I would make like a PowerPoint about autism.
Yeah, you're all about your PowerPoints, aren't you?
Yep.
Yep. But that actually might be a good idea for us to put together, for you to put together, is autism from a sibling's perspective, um, how it feels.
Yeah.
What's some other things that is it difficult sometimes?
Yes.
What feeling? What time? What do you feel sometimes?
Um Jealous because there's a lot of things about Curtis.
Mm-hmm. What about things about him that now I know that you've come to me before, and I'm sure that there are other parents out there who have had this happen. Um, that they come to you and your poor kid says, um, "I feel like you're leaving me out," and so we've tried to do something where we go back and forth, and we kind of try to have some special time. You get some special time with mommy, and then some with daddy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Jennifer says to ask a question for you, Nikki. She says, "Do you ever see any autistic traits in yourself or friends, and now because of your experience, you say to yourself, 'Oh, I get it. I can relate.'"
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah. Are there some of those sensory things?
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you see sometimes do you see kids reacting to sensory things that Curtis reacts to, and you say, "Oh, I know what that is."
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What kind of traits do you see that you have maybe sometimes?
Hmm. I get angry a lot.
No, that's not necessarily
Not a lot, but sometimes I just get angry.
now anger isn't an autistic trait. They can get
Yeah.
they can get angry and melt down because say the stitching in their sock. I mean, well, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Don't have the right pair of pants, and they itch.
Can't play this video game.
Um, well, yeah. So there's sometimes. What about say? Oh goodness, I'm trying to think of that. Let's see. What else is what are some of the other things that you have to deal with? Now, I know one thing that you're especially jealous of, and he's right underneath our feet. What is that? The furry little four-legged thing right beneath us?
Oh, that one.
Yes, that one.
Dog. There
Mm-hmm.
is a very, very, very soft dog.
Mm-hmm. And his name is Chewy,
Hmm.
and he has a specific job. What's his job?
He's a service dog for Curtis, and sometimes it bugs me. I like to pet him a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, anyway, you like to pet Chewy a lot, and when
yeah,
he's in his vest, you can't.
yeah, and sometimes he just pulls him away and says I can't touch him anymore.
Right, right. Um, Danny says that his son has sensory disorder, and that one is it's a tough one to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah,
What are some of the things that we do to help Curtis with sensory? If he's having a sensory moment and I know it, what can I ask you to run go get for me?
fidgets,
Fidget toys. What's the
fidget toys galore,
Yep? What's the heavy things that I might ask you to get?
weighted blanket,
Right, his weighted blanket, and the stretchy thing.
body sock.
Yes, his body sock. So we deal with that. But I haven't left you out with the fidgets, have I?
Nope.
Nope, I got you a ton of fidgets, huh? Latrice says, what about Niki's schedule changes suddenly as it is hard to adjust? Has it been difficult to adjust to this whole time right now?
Yeah,
Yeah, that means that who do you have to spend all your time with?
him.
Him. You say that as a bad thing. Is that
Curtis.
why we've had a lot of fighting around here?
Nope.
No. No. I know that it's been tough for all of us, but it can be especially tough because it's hard for us to, I mean, you're dealing really well. Say this instance right now. You're waiting on something to come in, right?
Yes.
You ordered a toy a while back, and because the coronavirus hasn't been able to come in, right?
Yeah.
Now, what did you get for Curtis for his birthday?
We got some like cable covers, like
Mm-hmm.
Stitch.
Because that's his favorite thing in the world, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But what was the problem with that?
It would not come in.
No, it didn't come in. And now, when I tell you, I'm sorry, it's a shipping thing, and I give you the reason as to why it has to wait. How does that make you feel?
Ugh.
Ugh. Okay. But are you gonna throw a fit and it gonna ruin your day every day?
Nope.
That's one thing that we have to do to help Curtis is that he doesn't understand sometimes things like this and time. Oh, wow, that was fun. Our light just blew. That's why I jumped, and it's a little darker. It kind of scared us, but it's okay. Anyway, but that was one thing that we had to go through to try to help him understand.
Mhm.
But you've been really good with that, and I'm thankful for that. Now, are you going to be happy when we can get back out?
Yes. Cause
What are you looking forward to?
pool.
Yeah. That may
so
not happen this year, but what's something else that you've been asking me and asking me and asking me about that we might be able to finally get?
acting classes,
Right.
acting and dancing classes.
Right. You might be able to get back into classes, huh?
Yep.
That will be a fun thing because it's important as an autism parent to make sure that I found that it was really important for me to find something for Niki to do that she held her interest, but also, so that she had something that showed us that we were focusing on her as well as, because sometimes did it feel like therapy and going to all the appointments was like special for Curtis?
No.
And he was having fun in his appointments and you didn't ever get to have fun? Don't you remember those arguments?
Somewhat.
Yes, that is true. Well, I think one of the biggest was going to the sensory gym, huh?
Oh yes.
So, how does Curtis help you when you need help? Miss Kelsey wants to know. Does he help you when you need help?
Um. In video games a lot.
Yeah, he helps you with video games.
um, he gets stuff for me when I'm doing something else.
Hasn't now? There's been some times that I have been really amazed, and hasn't he helped you out when you've been upset?
Yeah.
Haven't those been really special times for you?
Very.
Yeah, because we don't. It's hard sometimes for him to express emotion and be empathetic. That's that emotion to feel for you and say, "Oh, I'm sorry you're feeling that way." That's hard for him, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he hugged me, but still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Jennifer wants to know the age difference between you two and how you deal with role reversals of what people would expect of typical siblings. Well, you guys are almost 2 years apart.
Yeah.
Just barely shy of 2 years apart. What do people ask me all the time when we go into stores?
Oh, do you have twins?
Yes.
We're like the same height.
You're almost the same height there. And who do they think is older? Do they think you're older or Curtis is older?
Sometimes me.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that they think that Niki's older, and I think that's because she does, you've had to take on a lot, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've had to become a little more responsible, and had to take on a few more things to help me and to help your brother because, well, that's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do we really know any different?
Nah.
Nah. But I am so blessed. I am so blessed to have a girl with such a heart. She's very caring and very open to helping. And it's a blessing to have her be there and be willing to help when I need it, especially with my physical issues, but also to help her brother at times to understand and know what's going on. And I know that sometimes that's really hard to understand, but you handle it like a champ. And I know that even though she's younger, she may be in the, you're going into 5th grade, he's going into 7th. Most people don't see that, Curtis doesn't necessarily act like he's in middle school. They might see that you're the one that's in middle school. But I think that's one of the things that you'll find with autism siblings is that, especially if they're younger, they just, if you're lucky, if you're blessed like I am, because I am blessed, Niki has just stepped into the role and been willing to help. And there have been times that she just says, "Oh, Curtis, what can I do?" And is there to help him. I know that as you get older, it's going to be a little bit
harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not, I'll just be real. I'll be honest. I am not looking forward to the teenage years for either child. We already went through, Mommy, can I have makeup? Can I wear a necklace? And I'm like, no, you're 10. Please, not yet. Yeah. Don't stick your tongue out at me. Is there anything else that has made things different because your brother's autistic?
Well,
do you get looked at different at school or and when you're in places with your because Curtis is autistic and he acts differently?
Yeah. I do.
You do? Is that an opportunity for you to tell him what he's about, or is it really are people being mean to you because Curtis isn't acting the way they think he should act?
Sometimes. Somewhat. That hasn't really happened a lot.
Right. When it has happened, have they been asking about Curtis or have they been making a comment?
They've just been looking at me weird.
Looking at you weird, yeah. Sometimes it's hard to handle those weird looks, isn't it? Because that's one of the things people don't understand sometimes is just because he's autistic doesn't mean that we don't, as autism mom, as an autism sibling, My husband, as an autism dad, we get the stares too. Um, we get the comments, and it's rough on all of us. And that's kind of why, um, in the first place, I chose to call this My Spectrum Life, because it's my spectrum life. Even though I'm not on the spectrum, I deal with how to advocate for my son who's on the spectrum and how to help him. It's your spectrum life because you're helping your brother who's on the spectrum, and life is different for you because he is on the spectrum, and you know words like neurotypical and perseveration and um, scripting, and you know that when he goes around the house and repeats lines from Phineas and Ferb or whatever you're watching, you just
Super Mario Brothers.
or whatever, it's like, oh, he's doing that again, and you've learned.
Be quiet.
Yes, yes, it gets rough, and you've learned to kind of shrug it off at times, right? Yeah, yeah,
And kind of put noise canceling headphones on.
yeah. That's one thing that we in the household, in the immediate household, we have learned to do is we have learned to just ignore a lot, haven't we? We ignore the noises, ignore that because we know that's partially some of the ways that Curtis communicates. And the more nonverbal a child can get, I think it may be a little bit more difficult, isn't it, for
Yeah.
others? And I know I've gotten notes home from people or from teachers saying he was saying this, 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 and this. So Danny says when you're out and they have a meltdown, people look at you like you're a bad parent, but they don't understand. And
Yeah.
that is so true. Oh, it's one of the messages I want to get out to the public is that we're not bad parents at all. Just because our child looks normal and doesn't have a visible disability doesn't mean that we're bad parents, because we're not. And it doesn't mean that, Nikki's a bad sibling or what have you. It's their system just can't take it, and it's an overload. And to get the stares and I mean, I know you don't remember this, but I remember one time when you guys were very little, and it was before we knew that Curtis was autistic, and we were in a grocery store, and Curtis was having a meltdown, and you guys were you were both young enough that I had them in the front of the cart, and we're in the middle of the aisle at the grocery store, and somebody came up to me because I could not get the kids to be quiet at all, didn't know what was going on. And, at that point in time, I did not know that Curtis was autistic and that he was probably having a sensory issue. And somebody walked up and said, "Can I try?" And tried to calm the kids down. It didn't work.
I guess I used to follow monkey say, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, you did. You did. Um, it didn't work. And I remember her walking away shocked that, what she tried to do to tell him to calm down didn't do anything at all, one iota at all. And it was, now that I look back, I'm like, I wish I would have known that that was a meltdown at that point in time. And then I could have said, no, it's okay. But it also was kind of one of those wake up moments to know that, sometimes it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what anybody does. If your child is in a meltdown, there's no stopping it.
Yeah.
You're not a bad parent. It's not that you don't know what you're doing. It just is. And we just got to deal with it, right? And that's life for us.
Yep.
And it can be tough, but it can also be extremely rewarding.
Yep. Yeah,
because there are very cool things like surfers healing.
Oh yes.
That was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah. I just wish I could have gone on the surfboard.
Yep. But it was really cool to see Curtis get up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And surf.
He actually stood up.
Yeah, that was amazing. And that was awesome that the whole beach that day, we could just be who we wanted to be because everybody was in the same boat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There were kids with autism, there were siblings, and there was fun for all. The whole
Yeah.
family was taken care of. Things were free. We did this in South Carolina. Unfortunately, it's been canceled this year, but there are certain events like that that are so much fun, right?
Yeah.
So
Me
we,
and Curtis, I remember we built a sand volcano.
yeah,
That was probably Curtis's favorite thing we ever built with sand.
this is true. This is true. He does have an affinity for landforms. So, but there's some pluses and there's some minuses
Yep.
to living this spectrum life, isn't there?
Mhm.
But we're just gonna keep on trucking on because that's what we do, right?
Yep. Go with the flow.
Yes, we do. Well, it's been wonderful for us to have Niki on tonight, and I hope that maybe some other times we'll be able to talk again soon, and maybe next time Miss Kelsey will be on there too.
Yeah.
Won't that be fun?
Yay.
If there's any topics that you want to discuss on a future episode, please drop us a line at info@myspectrumlife.com. You can also fill out the form on the myspectrumlife.com website. There is a form at the bottom if you that you can submit requests and stuff at. If you'd like to follow us, please follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/myspectrumlife. You can also follow us on Instagram. Sorry, Chewy. Sorry, my dog. And he flops down. You can follow us on Instagram.com, myspectrumlife, or twitter.com/myspectrumlife1. And we're hoping to get some more little videos and stuff up for you guys on those sites. We're working on some more things for that. But as always, and also please, if you are watching on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. As the more subscribes we get on YouTube, the more we can grow this channel, and it'll give us even more reach. And if you're listening to this later on one of the podcast venues, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and several others, Google, my husband has done a wonderful job at getting this everywhere, so you can search us and listen. If there's a place that you search and you can't find us, drop us a line and we'll work to do that. But give us a like there on those venues as well, as that will help out as we try to get the word out about autism. But as always, we know we'll get there with a lot of faith, love, and a whole lot of fidget toys. Bye now.
Bye.